Okay, guys, I'm going to start going over this process of rendering out this, it looks like a CAD drawing that Tracy gave me. So, that last thing we did, or the thing we did a little while ago, where we painted up those ink drawings, the reason we did that is just, that's a universal thing. So this is where we're going to use the same technique, basically, a little more advanced. So I have this now, I'm going to call it drawing. And I'm going to do the same thing we did with those ink drawings, because when I want to paint something underneath this, or give it texture or whatever, I'm going to need this to be clear. So we go to our overlays and we just go multiply. Then I usually lock this off. Then I want to make a layer under here. For now, I'm just going to call it working, because I'll start breaking up these layers in different ways. And another thing I did is I went and I got, because I want to put some brick and some textures in here just to show you guys how to do that. So I got a brick texture and a wood texture. So like maybe through this section I can put the brick texture. So let's look at that. So I want to drag this texture in here. I want it a little bigger. This is 300 dpi. It should hold together okay. Now, it rasterized it. You can see it right, or not rasterized it, turned into a smart object right here. I don't need that right now, so I'm going to right click on the layer and just go to rasterize layer, and it just turns it back into a regular layer. Now, what we're going to want to do here, as you can see the drawing through there, but I'm going to knock this back so it's not confusing me so much, like that. You can still see the texture, but it's not as confusing. And then what I can do is I can take this, I'm going to do it one piece at a time. So you can see I want to follow this perspective of this room, and there it is right there. So I think in this case, we've gone over, I want to cut this down a little bit. I don't need all this extra stuff over here. Or I will go here. I'm just going to cut it probably here. And just get rid of this last part too. I don't need that. I'm going to bring this texture back over here. And I think I can probably do it this time. If you guys remember, under our edit, transform, we have all our transformation tools. Let's see if we can just do it with a perspective. So I'm looking at these brick lines in relation to this line. I'm going to pinch it a little bit here. From where I'm sitting right here, it doesn't look too bad. Up here, it needs to go up. And if I don't get this correct on here, then I'll just do it. I feel like it needs a little more. I feel like it needs to go a little more tweaky up here. So I'm going to go back, transform, distort, and I'm going to pull this up a little more. Because now I got to follow this top perspective, right? I'm just going by these lines right here, this one and this one. And that looks pretty close. So now, if I come here, and all we're doing, this process we're starting right now, is we're just starting the block in phase, which just means just that. We're just going to block in certain areas, and then we'll go in and start to really make them look cool. And I'm going to show you a couple tricks to do kind of painterly things without having to be painterly, or without having to know painting. So I'm going to leave that sort of knocked down a little bit. Also, that's a cabinet right there, so I'm going to go. Now I'm using my polygon lasso tool for this to grab my selections. So I want to grab this one. And I'm just going to go select, save selection, and I'm going to call it kitchen cabinet, or just cab. Now, what does that do? If you go over here to Windows, because we were just talking about channel selections, I'm going to go to channels, And there it is right there. That's where it saves it. It creates an alpha channel and it just saves that information there. So I know I want to get rid of, in my texture, I don't need that. And the reason I'm saving that selection is I'm going to need it later. I know I'm going to need it. So now we have a little of that. Now I'm going to grab a little more. I'm going to take this brick and I'm just going to open it in its own tab. I'm just going to grab a piece of it. I don't need all of it. I'm going to come in here. And I think at the end of this, what I'll do is I'll create a night version of this too. Let's say this is day. And also always think, I'm trying to get this brick so it's reasonably same size. I could have just saved the other selection, but I think this is fine. I think a little smaller because it's going to go off in the distance a little bit. And now I'm going to go here. And again, I'm going to knock back my opacity. And I'm going to do the same trick. So this one has to go just this space here, which looks like it's curving in this way or bending in that way. So let's go, this should actually be a little smaller because this brick's starting to go away from that brick. And then I'm going to go edit, transform, distort. And I'm just going to bring this to match that. And I've got to zoom out a little bit. And then this is going to go back up where it was. I'm going to hold shift, that'll straighten it out. But this is actually, it's bending right there. So it's actually bending down actually. I'm sorry, hang on. It's actually going this way from down here actually, so I'm just going to try and do it that way. I'm going to try and think of it from being down here more. And I'm sort of just improvising this. I don't really have a plan. That's, you know, I pulled a couple of images from different things like New York loft spaces and things like that, just to see what I can find. And this is bending inward down a little bit. And it's turning that way a little more. Then I want the whole thing actually to go a little smaller. Looks like it should be bending a little more. Now make sure, which I haven't done here, make sure that you got your view, the opacity knocked down enough, so I'm not fighting with seeing the, I would say somewhere about there. And again, I'm going to make another selection here. So I'm going to turn that off for a second, and then I'm going to go probably all the way up to here. Actually right here. And then this beam goes in front of it, so I might as well just block that out. Because those will be more or less where I use my, if I hold shift I get a straight line here. And I'm just blocking that out. So now I got another selection. I'm going to go save selection. And I just name these things I'll remember. And I'm going to turn this back on. Now I'm going to invert that, so I'm going to go Command Shift I, or it's up here under Select, Inverse. And go back here. And I think that's okay. So now I'm going to pull that value up a little, or the opacity up a little. There. Now I have to figure out how far I want to go with that. So I think the room could probably still go into here. So I'll make a quick selection on this. So I can use that. Oops. Let me get a little closer. Now all these selections will come into, like here, I need to put brick 2, because this is the second one I did. This is the first one. So I'll go brick kitchen. Then I'm going to go a little closer here. Now the nice thing about having a line to start with is you just have to stay under the line. So I'm going to go here. And I might change out where it turns right there. And I'm going to come right to there. Over this faucet. Now I can get a jagged edge as long as it's under that line. And then right to here. And I want to go again, save selection, window wall. And when I do the same thing with my brick, oops. It's going to get a lot smaller. It's going back in the room more. Not crazy smaller, but smaller. Okay, so let's just go there. Now this one, I'm going to knock back the opacity. I'm going to say window wall brick. And I'm going to knock this opacity way down. And I got to make sure that my brick's small enough. It's about the same size, so I'm going to go a little smaller. And then this one's a little easier. So if I go maybe here, I should be able to take my edit, transform, distort. Just get it to follow that line right there and get this one to follow the line right there. I think I'm pretty close right there. And then edit or select, I'm sorry, load selection, window wall, then up here to select inverse. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. Then we can go back here and go, pull it back up a little bit. So what we're doing here is I'm starting to block in this room, okay? Now I'm going to get one more texture. I think I'm going to get two more textures, maybe a floor, maybe, I'm not sure if I'll get a floor texture. Maybe I'll use the paneling or something there. I'm not sure what I'm going to use there. Let's bring this up a little bit. Now, another thing I have to do before I do anything else is I probably want to get, this is, for me, this is where the view is going to be. I just like the idea of that being a balcony. So I might want to get that in there at some point. Now, when there's a curved thing like this faucet, you might want to come in here with your pen tool and do that with your pen tool. But these ones right here, these are pretty simple. And you got to hold shift if you're making multiple selections when you start the next one. So again, that's going to be a selection because I'm going to need all these windows. And I'll put a view of like a big city, maybe New York or something. Now you see right here, the brick over here has gotten too big. I'm not going to correct it right now for the sake of this, but normally I'd make sure that that's shrunk down enough, but I think it's going to look okay. And then I'm going to go back to my window wall and get rid of that. And I'm also going to have to get rid of this brick on here. So I'm just going to make this, I wanted those 3 windows because it'll make it easier for me later. But I also need this big overall window. And what I'm going to do eventually with this is I'll show you this type of rendering, and then I'll show you how to go in and add some painterly touches to it without, you don't have to be a painter to do that, okay? We're going to use some of the tools we've already used. So now again, I'm going to go select and put window frame. Because those are going to get a different thing. Then I'm going to get these out of here too. And again, all I'm trying to do is just stay behind that line. And you know, there's other ways to select it, but for right now I just want to use this. And then I want to hold shift and start this one over here. This will just make it easier later for me when I need to go render out these lights. I'm thinking they're sort of like frosted glass, like most of these things are. I'm not too worried about this part here. I can just kind of erase that out. So let's see, is that the only 2 lights? Yeah. So I'm going to go left lights. Now you could also go in here and freehand stuff if you're a painter. You could do that. And I'm going to go back down to window, wall, brick. Get those out. So I start to get a sense of what this is going to look like. Now again, I get the scale of this brick correct, but that's okay for now. What I want to get is maybe a texture for this carpet. And then this up here, I'm not sure what that is, but I'm going to say, and I'm going to do it again, I'm going to make a quick little selection here. Actually, yeah, I think that's okay. I kind of have an idea that I'm going to mix this up with like plywood and brick. So let's do, this one's recessed, so I'm not sure what that is, but I'm going to say, let's say all of this here is going to be plywood. This one I might just cut off. Let's just try that. So let's get our plywood texture here. Now sometimes you have to zoom out, and I'll Command T to transform, and we don't have to hold shift or anything now to constrain this anymore. It just constrains on its own. So I'm going to say this unit back here, maybe. And I want to go, there we go, is plywood. So let's see if we can just knock this down. I'm going to get underneath the drawing again. Plywood cabinet. Now at some point we could combine some of these things later on, because we'll have the selections and everything, so it'll actually be okay. Actually, this one, it feels okay anyway. It doesn't look like I really need to do much to it, except size it. Make sure that the grain doesn't look too big. Now I'm gonna option drag. Oops. Now, when you go to grab this stuff, you got to remember, even though it's transparent, this drawing it's going to grab the drawing every time you do a you try to grab something. Oh, that time it didn't. It shouldn't actually, because that's locked. There it goes. Did it again. Okay, so I'm just going to turn off that for a second, because all I need is this. I'm going to put it up like there. And then I'm going to go, if you guys remember, layer mask right here. And then I'm going to go gradient. And I'm going to go black to white. And I'm going to go right, start right here, hold shift. It's a little too much. That's a little better. Let's see if I can just get that to fade in a little better. That's probably okay. And then I'm going to lock this layer and this layer, or I'm going to collapse them, which is right here. I'm going to merge them. So right here on your flyout, it says right here, merge layers, or Command E. I usually use Command E. And there's that. Now I'm going to put the drawing back on. And if you look, this feels okay, this whole little section. So I'm going to go make a selection right here. And for now, I'll just bring it down to here. Get it around this chair. Come around here. I'm a little short there, but I'll fix that. And select, save selection, cabinet. Now I can let go of that. I can back out. And down here where I didn't have enough, I'll just pull it down to there. Then go back here, load selection, and load my cab selection. Back up to select, inverse, knock that out. And again, I'm a little short right there, but I'll fix that in a little bit. Now, our light source is going to be coming from two places, basically. For this scene, I'll probably do a daylight thing where the light's coming out of here. I'm going to drop a city view in there. And obviously, we have these lamps. Not sure what that is there, but I'll just make it a cabinet or something. Kitchen countertops will probably be gray or black, because I think that'll just pop out of here okay. So I'm going to make a countertop selection. And right now I'm just going to go through everything, and then I'll probably change the selection a little bit. Select. Oh, selection. Save selection, counter. And let's try just dropping in like a charcoal gray color. Now, it doesn't matter what color I drop in because it's going to be, and I want this on its own layer. For now, I want everything separated. So now I'm going to fill it. And I just noticed my selection is funky. Huh, I missed that little line right there. So I'm just going to come in here and do this. And I think I'm going to go, it feels a little dark. I'm going to go a little lighter. Yeah, like there feels a little better. And what eventually we'll do is we'll reflect some stuff into this. Then this feels like an appliance. These are drawers, cabinets. So I might be able to come in here again with this. And go. Now here too, in a little bit, I'll have to come over here when I need to change this, and I'll fix that little thing, and probably you know, just erase out where it went into the shelving. In this shelving unit too, I can probably use the same texture. For speed, I'm going to do things a little quicker. I might pop a TV in there, in this spot right here. I think I will do that. Okay, so let's look at dropping that in. And again, because this is sort of an abstract pattern here, it actually looks okay on the countertop. So let's zoom out. Or not on the countertop, on the kitchen cabinets. Now I want to get some place that's fairly neutral so the grain doesn't look so huge. Actually, I want to get it like that. I don't think you can be able to see it that well anyway. So let's go. I'm going to turn this off for a second. I'm going to go here. Like, let's go from here. I got to get a little closer. I want to close this. I'm going to go from here to here for now. Actually, I can select all of this, I think. I've got little places where I've missed, but I think that's okay for now. Here's our I want to come to here, there. And let's save that. Let's turn this back on, and again invert it. Yeah, I didn't invert it, hang on. And we're going to do the same thing here. So drop that in. So these are drawers. And this next one's going to be also drawers. Drawers left. And by the way, you can do this really quick. I'm going through this process like this, but you can do this really fast once you get used to it. It's really simple. Actually, here I think I only need to go to here. And this one here, I can probably go into, I mean, you could do it here too. You could just make an easy gradient here, but if I go into, I'll launch that in the background. I need to get something for this floor, but let's look at this countertop. There was something I want to say real quick. It's launching. I can make a quick gradient. I'm going to see if it'll work. I'll just make an Illustrator. You could do it in Photoshop, but they have built-in tools here to do this. So I'll just see if it works. Don't want to make it too big. Go to Window. And again, you could just go get a stainless steel texture off of online, but swatch libraries, metal, That's the wrong one. Swatch libraries, gradients, metals. Then I'll grab stainless steel. There it is. Get rid of this line. I'm just going to take that in there and see how that looks. It's sort of a warm gradient too, which I like. So let's paste that in there. That's not terrible. And I think I'm going to go edit, transform. Hang on. Distort. I'm just going to kind of, even though it really doesn't need to be in perspective, I want to see if, sometimes I just like to do that. I want to follow that floor again, so there's my perspective. And I've got this top one I can follow a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect because, again, and for now, that's probably okay. So I'm going to say dishwasher. And this, I'm not that worried about this selection because it's just not that hard a selection to make. I'm going to put it, actually, I'm going to put it here. This whole part right here, I'm going to get rid of this down here. It looks like it has a little piece of trim right here. So maybe I'll just give that a little gradient. So maybe I'll just go, I'll fill it with the same kind of color as this up here. So get my eyedropper, dishwasher. And then I'm going to get a little lighter value. So I got my color picker actually on another screen, so I'm putting them over here. I'm just bringing it over to show you what I'm doing. So I'm going to pull this up a little bit. I don't want it too much. I'm going to go get my gradient tool right here while I still have this selected. Oops. Right there. Only this time I'm going to go color to transparent right there. And let's just say, let's say the light's coming this way. And you can see it gives it a little more. I'm going to go a little more. That's all better. And that's probably enough. And then this up here, I'll probably, these two little things, like this. And these two little things. Oops. Well, actually, that'll probably just paint. And this, I'm just going to fill it with, I want a darker value in there, because what I'm going to do later on is I'll put a little, like little light indicators and things like that in there. Little green lights and things like that. Okay, so we're pretty quickly starting to get the areas where I'm a little confused on, like here. I'll just let those, I'm not going to worry about that because we get the idea of this. And then we're going to start to light this thing at some point. But I want to go grab a, I'm going to grab a carpet texture or something. I don't know what I'm going to grab, but before I do that, what I want to keep wanting to talk about is right here. Let's do this real quick. because I already have a stainless steel texture. Shift, and come right around here. For now, I'm going to do that. I want to get rid of this. Let's go back to the countertop. Counter. Get rid of that. And then what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to save this selection. Sync. Let's see if I still have my... Yeah. Now, I might get a little more dramatic here. Let's get a little more dramatic here. I want to go to... Actually, let's just do it like this. I'll make this more dramatic in a little bit, because when I get to the part where I'm going to sort of do painterly things, it'll make some sense. I'm going to shrink this down a little bit. Select, load selection, sync. Okay, select inverse. For now, that's okay. Because again, all we're doing right now is blocking in. We don't want to get all crazy with overthinking everything. Then I think I'm going to go to the counter layer again. And say this countertop is part of that same look. Actually, I'll go all the way back here. I'm going to grab the same color, but before I make that a selection, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go in here with my eraser. This time I'm just going to erase this out. Now, if I'm doing this with a mouse right now. If I was doing it on my Cintiq or with my Wacom tablet, the little tabletop tablets. And by the way, you don't have to spend a lot of money on those. The one I use right now, I got at Best Buy, and it was, I think, around $99, and it works great. You don't need to have a Wacom and all that, or a Cintiq, I'm sorry. I'm going to get a different brush for this. Just my general brushes. This one's probably fine, because this will be a little less, or easier to handle for this. So before I do anything with this, which I'm going to try right now, first thing we have to do is get everything blocked. But I like to get these things out of the way because they just help me see what I'm doing. So that's a little better. And then I think I'm going to put another plywood texture in here. And I'll put the TV. Actually, this whole unit in here could probably become a plywood texture. Probably at least all of this. And I'll figure out the top part after that. Now normally the way I'd be doing this is, you go through your style board. Tracy had a style board in there, and sort of picking all your colors and patterns. And I probably will go back in there and look. Actually, maybe somewhere I can get some wallpaper in this or something. Maybe that foreground wall has wallpaper. And the part where I was just talking about Illustrator, I'm just doing that because I use Illustrator a lot. A lot of this stuff you could just do it in Photoshop. And I have to back out here now and then so I can figure out what I have to mask out or make a selection. And a lot of this stuff will soften up as we go along on here. Because once we get this part done, then the fun part starts, to me anyway. Okay, so there's that selection. So I'm going to say select, save selection, TV wall. Back here, back here. Now normally to do something like this, just to block it out like this, will probably take me about maybe half an hour to an hour maybe. Like once you really get used to it, it doesn't take very long. Now this one again, those knots and everything are really big. I don't want them that big, so I'm going to see if I can kind of get everything shrunk down a little bit. Now I'd usually be a little more meticulous about that if I was doing this for a job. But I know this is going to get bigger on this side, so I think I'm going to be okay as long as I go like here. I'm going to go to transform, distort again. Distort just lets me kind of pull the different corners and things independent of everything else. So I'm just going to use, again, that sort of for my guide. And then this bottom one for my guide down here. Make sure I'm behind everything. I think that's okay. And again, select, load selection, TV wall, select inverse. And now I realize this probably needs to carry all the way up to here. Maybe just, yeah, maybe that whole wall is just, because I'm going to break that up a little bit, and this couch and everything will break it up even more, so it won't seem like as much. And then maybe this front wall coming in, I can do, I don't know, wallpaper something on it, maybe put a picture, like the edge of a picture on it or something. We'll see. And what I was saying about this countertop that I keep going back to is one thing we haven't talked about, but it's a real simple, it might work in here, it might not. If we go to noise and go add noise, you can see that's up pretty high. But if I bring that down, just a little bit, like that's 2.45. Let's go to 3. And I'm just going to leave it like that for now. It's a real subtle thing, but I think it matters. So I think I'm going to go here and just see if I can add this. So I'm not sure what I'm doing with that space up there yet, but it really doesn't matter, I guess. I'm just going to add this, I think. Some of these lines are following kind of a weird way. That's okay, I can fix all that. I'm going to try and just go right behind this. And that way they'll sort of marry together, hopefully. Select, save selection. Again. Now this one I might not even need to do any. This is on top of my drawing. You don't want any of these on top of your drawing. So you want to see your drawing. Yeah, this doesn't look bad just like that. But I'm going to shrink it. And just go edit, distort. Actually, I'm going to do this real quick. Actually, no, I'm not. Yes, I am. Okay, so I'm going to go a little smaller here. Maybe there. Edit, transform, distort. I just want the grain to get a little bigger as it comes towards me. Then select, load selection. I'll probably put something else up here, but that gives me a back wall. And maybe this back here, at some point, if I was doing this for a client, I would probably, you know, put some books or something in there. And you can take it that far if you want. I'm going to sort of go the basic route because I want to get this laid in, and then I want to show you how to add a couple of nice little pops to it. I want to see, I'm just going to put, and then here also, let's go one more time. And I'm not going to light anything yet until I get it kind of all blocked in. And then that's where it's really going to start making a difference. I want to put this grain this way because it's going along the, I want to use this for the beam. And now I do want to see a little bit of grain there, so maybe right there. Turn this off for a second because this is, I'm not going to save the selection, I probably won't need it again. Turn this off for a minute. And when we light this beam, it'll be nice. So it'll get a little bit of a bottom light off the window or off the lamps. Turn that back on, invert it. Now right now it's got to get underneath the, there it is. It's also got to, again, it's got to get lit. I'm going to map out this ceiling a little bit. Now this, I don't need the top part to really be all that. It's going behind a lot of things here, so sometimes I just drop it in, but I think this is just going to be a color. So I'm going to go behind all these for now and see if I can get that to work. And then maybe here, and that's the ceiling. And maybe this is just a, put ceiling. Ceiling's going to go behind everything, because I'm going to use those just to block it out so you can't see behind it. So let's just say this is maybe, oops. This is maybe a cream color. Sometimes with the cream color, let's try this. I'm just going to try this because, like, again, whatever I put in here, I can just change it. I'm going to change the color anyway, so it's way too dark. I'm going to go to my levels. Maybe just make that a cream. Maybe later on it'll become a more bluish kind of thing. Maybe I'll have a little blue influence on it. I got to get this trim piece or whatever that is up here. And then let's see. I'm going to see if I can go find a quick couple of things I need for this. Okay. So I went and grabbed a carpet texture. Now I could just do that with a texture. There's a lot of ways I could do it, but just for the sake of speed, I'm using textures right now, or I'm using photography. I also got a image of a skyline that I'll see if it works. So let's go back to our back to our reference. There's one I'm going to want. And this one, I think. Just a carpet texture, but I'm going to see. And I deliberately got a gray because I'm probably going to want to, give it my own color. Which I could do with another color, I could just change it, but this way I just have ultra control over it. And then here, I gotta make sure that this texture is not so big that it's looks weird. And then if I have, like let's say I want to get about that small with it, what I can do here is I can just go option, drag it. Let's see if they line up okay. I don't think it's terrible. Option, drag it again. Then I'm just going to take all three of these, go to my flyout menu, flatten image, or I'm sorry, merge layers, or Command E, and then I'm going to go here. I'm even going to go one more just for the heck of it. Now, if it starts getting too patterny, where I can really tell, I think once I put this in perspective, it's not really going to matter. So let's see. So I think I'm just going to kind of put this behind here. And I'm just going to kind of go, do I even need to put it in perspective? Is the pattern too big? Which I don't think it is. I think I'm just going to kind of wing this and kind of go distort. I'm going to drag this down a little bit. All I'm going to really do is make sure that this foreground part is a little bigger than the background part. That's about all I'm going to do. This off for a second. Now I'll do the same thing. I'll just mask this out. I could also just erase this out around the things, but it just doesn't take that long to do this, so I just usually do it this way. And then sort of like the way we use the mixer brush and stuff for that dog to sort of bring up the grass around his paws and stuff like that. We'll probably do something like that. I'm not going to worry about that pole. I can take that out later. That's one selection. Let's go to this selection. And I think what I want to do is make the selection. Oops. Oop, I lost my selection. Hang on. Because I didn't hold shift. I'm going to just sort of half-ass this selection, and then I will fix it with my eraser tool and things like that in a minute. So I need this little section here. And I'm going right over that little pole thing. I think we started right there. Okay. Now shift. And I will start right there. Now this one's really easy to do because these are all very geometric shapes. And again, I'm just going to get this decent, like some of these things in here I'll just go out and erase out. And I'll create a better selection. And then when you get the hang of what I'm doing here, which I think you probably already have, you know, scrub through it until you see a big jump in what I'm doing, because the next jump is probably going to be starting to get some shadow values in here. I just don't like to edit everything out because you can scrub through it, and I'm just not a big fan of it when people do it with these kind of videos. This goes completely off. Let's just go here. Actually, I went a little too far in, but that's okay because I'm going to switch this selection anyway. See, I got some overspill right there, but I think it's okay. Because what I'm going to do is, where I got sloppy here, which I think is okay. I could do it with my eraser tool, or I could just do it with this. And just sort of get rid of these other parts. Now, right now, if I go here, you remember if you have a selection here hanging there by itself, you can see it's on a transparent background. I can just go command click the little icon and it'll select that selection. So this one I don't really need to save because I don't think I'll probably go back in here all that much. And then here I can just take all this out now, and all this, I'll just get rid of this. I could probably even leave this little chair or whatever here because I'm going to paint it anyway. You know, I'm going to give it a color anyway, so probably really doesn't matter. Here. So I could have done a cleaner selection, but it's a little more complicated back here, so even though I don't think it's that hard right here, I can just take my eraser. And then right here, I went in a little too far. Just do that. Okay. And for now, I'm just going to go, that is the carpet. And then I'm just going to throw a big shape behind everything for the linoleum floor, or the, you know, kitchen floor. Because, and for now, I'm just going to go, I'm going to sample this color up here, drop it in. You can see it picked up some of it up top somewhere, so I can make a pretty lazy selection for this right here. Maybe to right there. I actually don't mind it on the wall, but actually, I am going to leave that on the wall for now. So let's see what that looks like. It's underneath everything. Yeah, I actually don't mind that. Except right here, we need to go back here. Because it feels like this. Where is it? By the way, let's see. I want to get this little cabinet in here, so let's go back here. Close this. I don't need this. I don't need this right now. And I probably don't need this for a while. So I just want this one to open. There it is. Command all. Drop this in. This one, I think I'm just going to go because this will be on its own layer. I'm not that worried about. Inverse, get rid of everything else. And I'll get rid of that little white line at some point. I'll just add some more of that brick behind it. Okay, and then the kitchen. I don't know what color that is yet. So let's go and find, or maybe I'll just make a quick one. Maybe this place has, yeah, you can just go find a pattern for this. I'm just going to make a pattern here. Again, just because it's easier. Doesn't really matter what the color is right now because I can always change that. But I'm going to say we don't have any cool colors in there. So let's say something a little more gray blue. And then I'll adjust it when I get in there. And I might hate this thing, but it doesn't really matter for the purposes of this. So maybe let's start there and go G. Maybe interlock it there. Maybe interlock it there. Oops. I should probably be doing this more vertically because I'm probably going to need more vertical than horizontal. Make one bigger one. Even though that's weird. Let's just see if we can get away with this. Save this as a desktop for now. I don't know where the hell my folder is. There we go. Okay. Same drill. I'm going to go up here. Go to edit, transform, distort, pull this down a little more like that, and a little more up like that, just so it starts to feel a little more right. And then maybe, and then one more thing. I'll just cut all this out, all this overlap. Right there. All the way to right there. Invert it, get rid of it. Oops. Make sure you're on the right layer, which I think this is my pattern wallpaper. wanted to try different colors, I go to my hue saturation. I could go through this color spectrum and go, what do I like? Or I could go here and go, I want it more saturated, less saturated. Now, if you look at it right here, it's cutting off wrong. I don't like that. So I'm going to take my eraser. And you know what? I'm going to redo that because it's bothering me. There. That perspective just looks too off. So let's go distort again. I'm probably going to have to back out here so I can really get enough room. Okay, so that one needs to actually follow it about there. And this one needs to follow it about there. So that makes more sense. And a little more that way. And I could probably, I want to pull it out a little bit just because it's a little, such a big pattern, or busy pattern. And come back up here. Start right there. Make sure I'm on my wallpaper. And this should be under my drawing. What I'm going to do here is to make it less prominent. I'll just knock it down. And then I'll probably go and find a photo or something. This could even be a two-tone thing where you barely see it, where you just take a darker value of the. I think it needs to have a little more than oomph. I don't like the color yet. So for now, we'll just leave it there. Okay, so one other thing I want to try, and I don't know if this will work. So I'm going to make a grid real quick. And again, you can do all this in Photoshop. I'm just doing it in Illustrator because it's quick for me. I'm going to go with a gray fill here, maybe there. And maybe, I don't know. It's going to be hard to tell because I don't have the other photo in front of me. How big I need this in scale to be. But I can pull these out. I just want to see if I can get something on that floor to create some perspective a little bit. Feels about right. And I'm just gonna like trick this if I can. First I'm gonna pull out if I got enough room. And back. I'm just going to see if I can kind of pull this to sort of kind of follow this room's perspective. Now you don't have to do that, okay? I'm just going to sort of eyeball it and see if, and it might not work at all. A little bit of a big feels like it's gonna have to go out there a lot more. Now I'm gonna really knock this back because it doesn't need to be prominent. I'm also just gonna really, I don't want everybody to see where it screws up, so And normally if I was going to do this, I'd spend a little more time on it, but I'm just for the sake of this, I'm not, just because I don't want to take all the time on it. Just go select, inverse, and then I'm going to really knock this down. And I might hate it later because it's, you know, obviously it's not in perspective correctly. So it's barely there. Yeah, it's going to drive me crazy. I can't do it. I'd have to make it more. But just to give you the point, I might do something like that, okay? Okay. So I don't know what color this floor should be. But I think I can get a... Oh, no, I can't. Okay. Where's our floor at? There it is. So I'm going to break this floor up because it's also going over this wall and stuff, and I don't want to change that. But maybe this floor part needs to be a different color. So I just paste it into its own layer. I'm calling it floor alone. So I'm kind of improvising here a little bit, so I'm going to try going... Is this floor a different color? You know, it is a foreground element, so maybe it gets a little darker value here to kind of ground the room a little bit. But I think what I'm going to do is I want to keep it in the same sort of charcoal gray color here. So just for now, I'm going to fill it. Oops, that's too much. And then, and what I'm going to do here to make this not so harsh, I'm going to go a little lighter, number one. But I'm also eventually I'm going to put a some reflection into this, so that'll help it a lot. So this out here is just too, to me, this carpet out here is too light or too dark. I feel like it should go lighter, or at least I want to try it. Because right now what I got to do is get things to separate and to, you know, make sense. That's a little better. I'd probably put a little threshold piece right there. I could probably just do that. Oops. Just leave it at that. And then go take this same color or value, go to a bigger brush. I just want a simple brush for this. And if I click and hold shift, bring it over here, I can get a little threshold there. And eventually I'll come in here and sort of make sure that that looks correct. So I'd carve that out a little bit. Oops. I do the same thing here that I did with the countertop, because it looks like it's kind of indicating a little texture here. So that's enough. I don't want to put a lot of it on there. Okay, this little trim piece, I don't know what that's going to be, so let's just put something there. Maybe it's more stainless steel or something. And again, I think I'm going to try and just go, I'm going to go a couple of things. I'm going to use this to fix that selection I just made. This thing needs a pop of color, so maybe I'll do something there. Gonna go behind the counter, so I can get a little sloppy here because it's going behind the counter. And I'm just going to go to this value. Maybe go to a darker value. Then I'll probably, at some point, it's a little harder to do with this. I'm just going to take a soft brush. Maybe I'll just grab it from here, like a lighter value. Still too much. So let's knock our opacity down up here. Or later on, I'll just make this a color. You know, it could be some sort of warm color. And again, I drop things in and then I just change them because it's so easy to do. I think it should be something else. It needs a cool color in here again. I'm just putting that in for argument's sake. Because I got blue here and it'll make more sense later, hopefully. Maybe not. Okay, out here, I'm going to come in here and grab. See if this one works. A little bigger. Make sure it's behind my drawing. Everything has to be behind my drawing until later on, and then later on that can change a little bit. Too big. Of course, if you were, up high, perspective right there isn't terrible. And then I'm going to go filter. Okay, so this is rasterized again, so I'm going to click on the bar. Rasterize the layer, select my 3 windows that I made earlier, windows, invert them, and there's my killer view. Now another thing I can do, I'm not going to bother taking these chairs, well maybe I will in a little while. I'm taking the chairs out. I'd probably put a railing out here so it's like a balcony. You got to watch perspective a little bit, but I think sometimes in these kind of things when you're just presenting an idea, I don't know that it's the end of the world. And then I'm going to go maybe knock it down a little bit. I'm not sure. That's a little too much. Let's try this. Let's try or select our same one, our windows, and I'm just going to make a new layer. So let's say I want to put this window view, then I'm going to put just windows, or windows screen. And then I'm just going to try this. I want to try going over this with like I'm just going to try a couple things. For right now, let's try this blue. And I'm just going to try going through some overlays here. And maybe it's just a gray value I put over it. Or maybe, let's try this, I have a better idea. Let's put this way down here. And I'm just going to go a little less intense because I don't want it overwhelming the whole room. But it is a light source, so I want to think about that. Okay, I have my 3 window selects. I think I'm going to make a copy of my drawing layer. So I'll just work off the copy now. And because I want to go and delete those chairs out there. So now it's just a window view. Makes it a little cleaner. And then I'm just going to get this stuff blocked in. I knocked that out while I was offline. And then we can start. I'll block all this in. And then we can start sort of adding our shadow values and all that. Okay, you guys can probably see here now we've got shadow values. My software didn't record that part of it, but I can go over it real quick because it's not really that difficult. So let's look. I put a layer on here called shadow right here. And see if I turn that off. That's where my shadows are. So I'll put one right here. It's the same thing. So if I go back to shadow layer, and I'll go back over this in a second. I just want to get the same gray that I had, which is this gray, which I picked right here out of my grayscale in my palette. So I'm just going to grab that again. And what I did here is I just blocked out my grays wherever the and I'm also going to show you how to do this reflection. Wherever the gray was, wherever I had a shadow, I put the gray, and then I just put this layer on, the shadow layer on multiply. So I just went in and blocked it all out. I'll do it right here on this little ottoman kind of thing. Let's just put it here. That's it. So it's on multiplies, which means the gray just sort of takes up with the bottom part of it. Let's do another quick one right here. And that's all I did for the shadow layers. Now, you don't have to select it this way. You could use your brush. You could paint it out with a brush or whatever. And I just went to the room and I just did that everywhere. This white part of this probably needs something, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay, so the other thing I did was I went to the desktop where my files are, which is right here, and I just clicked the original and I option dragged it and I made a copy right here. That way, and that copy's right here. Right here. That way I had a flat version of it. I flattened it, okay? Which means I just selected all my layers and I went up here to right here where it says, yeah, actually it'll say merge layers. If you haven't selected, it'll say merge layers. That way I could come in here and I could grab like a section here like this. I'm just gonna do this real sloppy because I already did it. And then I came over here. Let's turn these off because I wanted something in that. Now I have to turn off the drawing layer. I'll pick that up every time. So I'm just going to take this and turn it off. Take that and turn it off. And I dropped this in here. This is just like what we did with the camera when we did that reflection. So I'm going to go Edit, Transform, Flip Vertical. And then put that little corner right there. Go up to Edit, Transform. I'm going to do Skew. So I think that'll probably do it. Just bring that up like that. Then we just need to go Layer Mask. And black to white gradient. And then just pull this up like that. And I get my little reflection. Okay, so I just did that in 2 different parts. which was, I think it's here. No, it's not. I have to find it, hang on. There's one, so I took that piece from right here. I just cut that piece out and cut and pasted it in. And same thing with this piece here. Let's put our drawing back on. And then that other one is right here. So then we just get a nice little reflection in there. This right here can probably go a little lighter. And also when I did the overlay to darken up this cabinet, I actually just sampled the same color as the cabinet and then did went through my overlays and tried to find one that matched, because I wanted to keep that warm wood tone on here. Back here it's fine, but it got a little too gray up here, and maybe even here a little too gray. I might change that. Could probably come in here and just gonna put this on top for a second so I can deal with it. Maybe put this here. Go edit. I'm gonna go, let's try perspective and see if we can get lucky. Yeah. So I'm gonna do it with distort, edit, transform, distort. Let's pull that straight up, pull this straight down, sort of like that. Now we'd have to get this behind my color. Yeah, there. Where did my TV go? There it is. Okay. About there. Okay, so that's probably my basic block in. I lit these up. Now, I'm going to do this as one part, then I'm going to put up the second part where I'm going to go into it and start going into it with a little bit of painterly stuff and that kind of thing, okay? So this one will just be part one.